presentation of the colors. The colors will be presented by the Mile High Honor Guard. The Honor Guard participants are Technical Sergeant Scott Chambers, 140th Medical Group, Technical Sergeant Diana Westfall, 140th Force Support Squadron, Airman First Class Jeffrey Harris, 460th Contracting Squadron, Airman First Class Jordan Kawada, 566th Intelligence Squadron. And following the presentation of the colors, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Douglas County Sheriff's Deputy Victor J. Holbert.
Would you please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, we also welcome the Saunders family of Arvada to sing the national anthem. The Saunders family have been singing together in churches and public venues for many years. They all have a strong background in music, play multiple instruments, and sing solo and in ensembles. This is the female group from the family, comprised of mother Laura and daughters Kayla, Aria, and Alyssa. They are honored, of course, and we are honored to have them be here with us today to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous
Pursuant to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Colorado, I hereby call to order the second regular session of the Colorado Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the state of Colorado. Please go ahead and be seated. Mr. Carpenter, would you please call the roll?
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lumberg, Marble, Martinez-Huminick, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zinzinger, Mr. President.
Here. With 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused, we have a quorum. Next order of business is the election of the Secretary of the Senate. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Effie Amin be elected as Secretary of the Senate during the second regular session of the 71st General Assembly.
The motion before the body is the election of Effie Amin as Secretary of the Senate during the second regular session of the 71st General Assembly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Ms. Amin, would you please come forward so that I may administer the oath of office? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Colorado and faithfully perform the duties of the office to which I am duly elected to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you, Effie. Let's give her a hand. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of the first regular session of the 71st General Assembly be made the temporary rules of the second regular session.
The motion before the body is to adopt the rules of the first regular session of the 71st General Assembly as the temporary rules of the second regular session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that a committee be appointed to notify the House that the Senate is organized and ready to do business.
The motion before the body is to appoint a committee to notify the other chamber that the Senate is organized and ready for business. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the committee will be appointed. Senators Gardner, Hill, and Garcia are appointed to notify the House that the Senate is organized and ready for business. Senators, you are excused to go. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that a committee be appointed to notify His Excellency, the Governor, John Hickenlooper, Governor of Colorado, that the Senate is organized and ready to do business.
The motion before the body is to appoint a committee to notify His Excellence, the Governor of the state of Colorado, that the Senate is organized and ready for business. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and a committee will be appointed. The President appoints Senators Coram, Lundberg, and Kerr to notify the Governor that the Senate is organized and ready for business. Senators, you are excused. And the Senate will stand in recess until the committees return, and during that recess, we will welcome in the committee from the House to notify the Senate that they are organized. We will stand in recess. Representatives, welcome.
Thank you.
Representative Pedersen.
Oh, thank you, President. Mr. President, we are here to notify you that the House is ready for business, and we're hoping that you are as well.
Thank you.
We also encourage you to keep up the pace the rest of the session.
Representative Salazar.
Good morning, Mr. President. The Speaker wanted us to deliver a message that we are ready to go, and in her words, not mine, we are not going to wait for you. I think that's actually a correct statement, too. We're not going to wait. We're going to go ahead and move forward. But it's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and we look forward to good camaraderie as we move forward this session.
Representative Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Personally, I'm on a scouting mission. This will do nicely. Seriously, the House is in order and prepared to do business, more or less. Well, at least sort of. We look forward to working with you.
Same here, representatives. Thank you for your report and welcome, and please go away now. Senators, we will continue to stand in recess until our committees return, which will hopefully be very shortly. So we will call you back to order in just a few minutes. Senate will come back to order. Will the committee to notify the House please report? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our committee went to the other chamber, and I was told on the way through the door that it was no longer permitted to bob any matters there. And so we briefly reported to them that the Senate was organized and ready to do business, which was met with some dubious chuckles, but nevertheless great courtesy, and they likewise expressed their willingness to work with us for a very successful session that they're looking forward to over the next 120 days.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think, with all due respect to the great senator from Colorado Springs, I saw a different picture. Instead, I saw total chaos. Members couldn't find their seat. I mean, the House being true to the style that the House is. So, colleagues, Mr. President, I think we're in for a long year.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to personally thank you for allowing me, seeing as I'm on dad duty today, to bring my two daughters over there and remind them about what they do not want to be when they grow up. They should join Mr. President in your example and my example and graduate straight to the Senate without sullying themselves in the House.
Thank you, senators. Thank you very much. Will the committee to notify the governor please report? Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to hear that the House is here and the Senate. We did go and we did report in to the governor, and she thanked us because the governor isn't down there. Seriously, he is not down there. So we reported to the acting governor and did explain that we're ready to work, and I trust that the other guy who's down in that office will show up tomorrow, because I understand he has a report to give to us. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Senator Coram.
Thank you, Mr. President. As stated, we did go. We announced that we are ready to do business. Did meet with the acting governor, and if the governor is not here tomorrow, I will initiate a photo on milk cartons that he is missing.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we have been appointed to do one task, and that is to go and meet with the governor and let him know that the Senate is organized and ready to go. And we have failed at doing that because we did not have plane tickets to New York to go and meet with him this morning. So with that, I'm hopeful that I can be appointed to the committee to notify whichever governor it is at the end of session that we are done with the session, because I was under the impression that the governor always provided libations to the committee, and with him not being there, there were no libations to be had. So I'm looking forward to the end, or donuts for some folks. So I'm very much looking forward to the end of session.
I think the libations come when we're going out the door, not coming in the door. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 1?
Senate Joint Resolution 1 by Senator Holbert and Representative Buckner, concerning the officers and employees of the second regular session of the 71st General Assembly.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 1 regarding the retention of General Assembly employees and salary ranges.
The motion is for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 1. Are there any no votes? Seeing none, with a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Carpenter. Oh, Senator Kafalis. Oh, Senator Aguilar and Senator Williams. Anyone? Anyone?
Tough crowd.
Anyone? Please add the president. Oh, darn it. Okay. Been there, done that. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of Senate Resolution 1?
Senate Resolution 1 by Senator Holbert concerning the appointment of officers and employees for the Senate convened in the second regular session of the 71st General Assembly.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Resolution 1 lay over until tomorrow, January 11th, 2018.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Resolution 1 will lay over until tomorrow. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I request that Mr. Carpenter read the letters regarding the changes in committees of reference and standing committees.
Mr. Carpenter, please read those letters.
December 1st, 2017, Mr. Mike Maurer, please be advised that I'm appointing Senator Andy Kerr, replacing Senator John Foss, to serve on the Business Labor Technology Committee effective December 1st, 2017. Sincerely, Lucio Guzman. Senate Minority Leader. December 1st, 2017, Mr. Mike Maurer, Executive Director. Mr. Mike Maurer, please be advised that I'm appointing Senator John Foss, replacing Senator Irene Aguilar, to serve on the Local Government Committee effective December 1st, 2017. Sincerely, Lucio Guzman, Senator Minority Leader. January 5th, 2018, Mr. Mike Maurer, Executive Director. Mr. Mike Maurer, Senator Sherry John, has changed her party affiliation from Democrat to Independent, and therefore making her ineligible to serve as Democrat Senator on the Legislative Audit Committee. I am therefore appointing Senator Nancy Todd to serve on the Legislative Audit Committee effective immediately. Sincerely, Lucio Guzman, Senator Minority Leader. January 5th, 2018, Mr. Mike Maurer, Executive Director. Dear Mr. Maurer, due to Senator John's decision to unaffiliate under Senate Rule 21, I am making the following changes to the committees effective Wednesday, January 10th, 2018. The Senate Business Labor Technology Committee will be comprised of 4 Republican, 2 Democrat, and 1 unaffiliated member. The Senate Finance Committee will be comprised of 3 Republican, 1 Democrat, and 1 unaffiliated member. Senator Sherry John will serve as an unaffiliated member of the Senate Business Labor Technology Committee and the Senate Finance Committee. Thank you for your time and attention to these changes. Respectfully yours, Chris Holbert, Senate Majority Leader. January 8th, 2018, Mr. Mike Maurer, Director, Legislative Council. Dear Mr. Maurer, please be advised that effective Wednesday, January 10th, I'm appointing Senator Jim Smallwood to the Senate Finance Committee, replacing Senator Owen Hill. Senator Smallwood will serve as the Vice Chairman of that committee. Respectfully yours, Chris Holbert, Senate Majority Leader. January 9th, 2018, Mr. Mike Maurer, Executive Director. Mr. Mike Maurer, please be advised I am removing Senator Daniel Kagan from the Finance Committee due to the realignment of the committee by the Majority Leader effective immediately. Sincerely, Lucio Guzman, Senate Minority Leader.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the approval of the following change to the appointee to the Legislative Audit Committee. Senator Todd will replace Senator John.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted, and Senator Todd is appointed to the Legislative Audit Committee. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in recess as we wait for work to come over from the lower chamber.
Senate will stand in recess briefly while we're awaiting the resolution to come over from the House. Carpenter, would you please read the message from the House?
The House has adopted and transmits herewith House Journal Resolution 1001 is printed in the House Journal January 10, 2018.
Introduction and consideration of resolutions. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of HJR 1001?
House Journal Resolution 1001 by Representative Becker Kay and Senator Holbrook concerning a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from His Excellency Governor John Hickenlooper and appointing a committee to escort the governor.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of HJR 1001 regarding a joint session on Thursday, January 11th, for a message from the governor.
The motion is for the adoption of HJR 1001. Are there any no votes? With a vote, with the vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Kafalas.
Governor.
I appoint Senators Sonnenberg and Williams to escort the governor to the State of the State address. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand in recess to hear the remarks of Senator Grantham, President of the Senate, and Senator Guzman, Senate Minority Leader.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, the Senate will stand in recess. Let's remember those who have graced us here with their presence, blessed us with their talent to make this such a memorable day. Thank you, first of all, to the Colorado National Guard Honor Guard, my pastor, David Almanzar, Deputy Victor Holbert, and the Saunders family for that wonderful performance of our national anthem. Will you please join me in honoring and thanking each of them for their part in today's ceremonies. Today, each of us also recognizes those near to us who make it possible for us to be here and serve the people of Colorado. For my part, I would first like to recognize and thank the one who has let me share my life with her for 22 years come this Saturday, and going on 8 years while I have been here in the Senate. And you know what? She's never once changed the locks on me. Yet. My wife, Caroline, thank you for everything. And as you might see over there with her, we've got a few of our grandkids with us today, and grandkids over here as well, and my son and daughter and their spouses with them, and so thank you all for being here. Love you all. Yeah, you can give them a hand, that's fine. Welcome also to some of our returning friends and colleagues who are sharing this day with us. We have with us today President Bill Cadman, Majority Leader Mark Scheffel, Majority Leader Raleigh Heath, and Senator Gail Schwartz, all with us today. Welcome and thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, colleagues. We all thank you for your service to this institution and to this great state and your friendship to each and every one of us. Thank you, guys. And to each of you who, like me, are experiencing your final opening day in this chamber, we can save all those gushy comments for sine die, maybe. But Senator Guzman, Senator Aguilar, it's been an honor to have begun my service with each of you and to finish this year with both of you. It's been my honor to serve with each of you. For the others, Senator John, Senator Kerr, Senator Lundberg, Senator Lambert, although you each had to endure serving time in that other chamber, I am glad that you graduated to the upper chamber, and I am eternally grateful that I have had the opportunity to serve with each one of you. Thank you for your service as well. Yes, Andy, I said that. Let us also recognize those with us today and those who could not attend today who make it possible, those that are sitting near us, those that are at home maybe watching this, but they're the ones who make it possible through their sacrifices for us to serve our state. We're talking about our spouses, our family, our significant others. Let's remember them today, and for those that are here and those that are watching, let's give them a hand. And finally, would you also please join me in recognizing our first responders, those who put themselves in harm's way for us, those who have given their lives in service, the families who are still yet grieving today. We think especially of the family of Douglas County Deputy Zach Parrish and what they are going through right now. Will you all please join me and rise for a moment of silence as the chimes ring out in honor of Deputy Parrish's service, his life, and his memory. Please join me. Colleagues and guests, thank you. Please be seated. And of course, we think today of Gracie and the two daughters, and we wish we lift up our prayers to them and for them today. Fellow senators, most citizens of our nation view a darkened horizon. A horizon where divisiveness and partisanship have become the norm. And where even our political party can be a label of shame. Many find difficulty in seeing a brighter tomorrow for America and for Colorado. The heart of our nation, civil discourse, is under continual attack. The feelings of community and neighborliness that once was the backbone of our communities is quickly becoming a distant memory. And our willingness to engage one another has diminished. Today is a moment of deciding for our state. Shall we fall to the partisanship and constant suspension that is Washington, D.C. politics? Or shall we rise above and prove to the people of this great state that we are working for them and not for our parties and our egos? Today, we decide what sort of legislative body we will be. Colorado has always been different. It's always been a special place, tucked behind the Rockies, untouched by California smog and New York corruption. Let's continue that tradition of being different. Let's work together to solve the issues that matter most to Coloradans. And let's cement a legacy together that will carry into future General Assemblies for generations to come. Let us be the sun splitting that darkened horizon. Let us lead the way for better days to come, because we are not bound to follow the path of Washington, D.C., and we're not obligated to do so. We can work together to create a flourishing and prosperous Colorado that we can all be proud of. In 2016 and 17, despite having a split General Assembly, the majority of the bills that made it to the floor passed both houses with bipartisan support. When everyone said we couldn't accomplish construction litigation reform, we did it. When no one believed that we could pass a bill that takes us down the path to equalizing charter school funding, we did it. We did it. We've done the tough work before. Let us recommit ourselves to doing it again. Let us not fall to the temptation of blaming the other side for incomplete work. Our constituents are like our teachers. And as students, our excuses can only go but so far. In speaking with many of you and listening to concerned constituents, there are 6 issues that stand out to me as being a top priority for 2018. Now, many of these issues are not black and white. There isn't necessarily a Republican way or a Democrat way to fill a pothole. But I'd argue that there probably is a Colorado way. And that's if we can do it together. So today, let us commit ourselves to maintaining and building the roads of Colorado. These roads, albeit not flashy and often taken for granted, are Colorado's veins, allowing the lifeblood of our state and the economy they support to travel efficiently and affordably. Between 1991 and 2015, the number of drivers on our roads increased from 3.3 million to 5.4 million. And projections estimate 7.8 million by 2040. Unfortunately, our investment in this vital infrastructure has fallen from 125 per person to 68 per person. This reduction has left many of our roads and highways in disrepair, or simply woefully inadequate for the volume. And for years, we've failed to produce meaningful solutions. This issue is one that greatly affects our lower and our middle class residents, as potholes and other road defects that can damage vehicles creates the greatest issue for those that are already having trouble making ends meet. And let us not forget those who rely on the roads beyond simply a daily commute. The Colorado Motor Carriers Association estimated that nearly 100,000 jobs stem from the trucking industry in Colorado as of 2016. 79% of Colorado communities rely exclusively on trucking to move their goods, and 89% of total manufacturing tonnage is transported via truck. Colorado's roads are their offices. If the flooring was falling apart in our offices, Wouldn't we fix it? Now, I applaud the governor for moving in the right direction with his budget proposal, putting an additional $148 million into our roads. Now, while I personally believe that that number should be higher, the fact remains that it's moving in the right direction. Let's invest in something meaningful, our roads, and benefits will stem from every corner of Colorado, in every neighborhood, and possibly in every household. To this end, today, Senators Cook and Baumgardner will sponsor Senate Bill 1. This legislation will commit a portion of the forecasted revenue surplus year over year to the tune of approximately $300 million and will refer a measure to the voters of Colorado this November, asking their permission to issue bonds on this commitment so that we can finally expand the I-25 gap from Monument to Castle Rock, so that we can finally expand I-25 North, and so that we can finally expand the I-70 West Mountain Corridor. With this measure, we will be able to finally start on the Tier 1 portion of the massive backlog in CDOT's project list. Let's get it done. Today, let us also commit to PARA reform. PARA reform that will provide our state employees with the benefits that we promised them, benefits that they deserve, while also ensuring that future generations don't actually have to foot that bill. This is not a new issue, nor should it be a surprise to any member of this chamber that it's a priority. Current and future workers in the public sector have their own hopes and dreams for their careers and their retirement. Retirement security is a big part of those plans. Protecting only today's retirees is insufficient. We must have our public pension system on sound financial footing so that today's and future employees can also be paid when they retire. We also must come to terms with the fact that the workforce is changing and that the solutions of the past may not be what is preferred by some of today's workers. All public sector employees should have the same opportunities and choice in retirement planning that the state of Colorado employees enjoy. Denying that choice is fundamentally not fair. The magnitude of the problem is larger than many believe. Very possibly, PARA is unfunded in excess of $55 billion. This is large enough to affect the credit rating of the state and its public institutions, and raise bonding costs for all important public construction projects, including transportation. This unfunded liability is a debt in excess of $10,000 per man, woman, and child in Colorado. The fact that we don't exactly know how much trouble we're in also shows the need for more transparency in PARA's finances. It will only serve to bolster confidence and give better understanding of the challenges that we now face. Some say that maybe we can put off reform for another year. Well, doing so will merely increase the debt that we are facing by millions of more dollars and put more financial strain on the pension system. Several proposals call for additional involvement by taxpayers, involvement beyond the significant payments being made today for debt service. It is only fair then to ask in return structural changes to PARA that start to actually deal with long-term risk. We have to stop digging the hole at the same time that we are trying to fill it. If option A is to do nothing, and option B is to do just a Band-Aid, and option C is to actually roll up our sleeves and do the hard work, then I say we need to pick option C. Now, I won't be here, and you won't be here in 10, 20, 30 years. And I surely don't want to hear at any point in that time frame that the senators that fill our seats then saying what a shame it is that the 71st General Assembly couldn't solve this issue back in 2018. I don't want future generations trying to tackle a $100 billion or more unfunded liability when we could have solved it today. The choice rests with each of us. If we all, together, commit to solving the para question this year, then it isn't a matter of what we're going to get done this session. It's simply a matter of how we're going to get it done. And through the leadership of Senator Jack Tate and several others, we have an opportunity to accomplish this, an opportunity that we simply cannot let pass by. Let's get it done. Today, let us also commit to finding solutions to bring broadband to our rural communities across Colorado. We have an opportunity to advance the education, economic growth, and healthcare systems of Colorado by ensuring that every corner of our state is effectively connected to the internet. Whether it's the fifth grader in Dove Creek trying to get his homework done, or the business owner in Creed wanting to sell his goods online, or a hospital in Hugo researching life-saving solutions for their patient, there are few opportunities that can bring so much benefit to so many Coloradans. We have a duty to ensure that internet service providers can provide fast internet connections to every household in Colorado. Where our state has neglected to invest previously, we must prioritize. And where our state government has gotten in the way, we need to rein it in. In fact, as I stand here right now, there are potential decisions being made right across the street that could use existing grant dollars to overbuild existing infrastructure. Any legislation that we propose must protect existing providers from government-subsidized competition. Any funds that we create here should be used to improve truly unserved areas of the state. The internet has brought more people together, allowed more economic mobility, and advanced research and technology unlike anything mankind has ever seen before. A true child of the free market. It belongs to no one man or any government. It belongs to the people. It has been around for decades now, and it's time to make sure every Coloradan has access to it. Senators Coram and Sonnenberg will be leading the charge this year to finally bring a solution to funding and access to rural broadband. So let's get it done. Today, let us also commit to reforming our energy office and implementing energy policies that embraces all forms of energy for our residents. Now, personally, I don't care if it's oil, natural gas, wind, solar, coal, nuclear, hydro, or even if they find some way to harness the hot air that rises out of the Capitol dome. I'm for a diverse energy portfolio in the state of Colorado, and we should all be for that. As new energy forms emerge, we must also not forget the traditional forms of energy, like oil and gas, that employ approximately 100,000 of our residents and bring around $30 billion in economic activity each and every year. Government shouldn't be in the business of picking winners and losers. Instead, let's open the markets and encourage energy development in all sectors that keeps and brings jobs to Colorado while lowering heating bills to consumers in each and every one of our districts. I'd like to thank Senator Scott for taking the lead on this issue again, with a bill that will modernize, repurpose, and redefine the mission of the Colorado Energy Office, focusing on an all-of-the-above energy policy for Colorado. So let's get it done. Last year, Republicans and Democrats in this chamber pushed a bipartisan effort to fund our hospitals, education, and transportation. Part of that legislation included a request for a 2% reduction in spending for every department except for education and transportation. As we all know, this request was not completed. It was not honored. That is why Senator Sonnenberg will be proposing a reduction in Colorado's income tax rate proportionate with that 2%. If this government cannot live up to its guarantees and reduce its own costs, then we are better off giving that money back to the people of Colorado. A health crisis has been brewing for years in the United States, and unfortunately has not ignored our own state right here. Morphine, hydrocodone, oxycodone, Percocet, Vicodin, cocaine. Speaking of opioid abuse, it has claimed the lives of far too many individuals who simply sought pain relief from injuries and medical procedures. And to those it hasn't killed, it has left homeless, unemployed, divorced, and alone. It has personally affected far too many of our families and communities, tearing them apart at the seams. And 2018 will be the year that we can address it head on. That's why I'm proud to see a package of legislation coming forward this session, to help tackle this crisis. And I would like to recognize the Opioid Abuse Study Committee that worked so diligently during this interim on this important issue. And in particular, Senators John, Moreno, Lambert, Priola, Tate. Thank you, Senators, for all your hard work. Let us lead the way and tackle what could be one of the greatest health crises our nation has faced thus far in the 21st century. Finally, let us also commit to creating a welcoming and respectful workplace environment here in the Capitol building. Many pundits, commentators, lobbyists, legislators, they've all made their opinions known. And I don't think anyone here is of the belief that the status quo is acceptable or the status quo is working, or that action shouldn't be taken. That's why I'm proud to work alongside the leadership in both chambers, here in the Senate and in the House, to take steps to ensure that our Capitol remains a safe, welcoming, and respectful work environment for all that are doing business here. We will continue the efforts that we started in November to make this that safe environment that we all want and that we all desire. So today, let us commit ourselves to trying our best. I mean, that's all we can do, right? That's all we tell our kids. Do your best. Let us respect one another, not by the R or the D next to our names, but by the fact that we're all Coloradans. We're all Americans. We're all human. I have no doubt that every single individual serving in this body is passionate about making Colorado a better place to live, a better place to work, a better place to raise a family, and a better place to come and settle down. That is where we can find our common ground. Now I look forward to the journey, a journey that we will share over these next 120 days. And when we look back on today, we can say that today we committed ourselves to a brighter future, a better Colorado, and we did it together. Thank you all. God bless each of you through this session, and God bless the state of Colorado. Thank you. Thank you. Leader Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and Mr. President Pro Tem, Mr. Majority Leader, and Mr. Assistant Minority Leader, and colleagues, friends, and family members who are here today. I've been honored to serve as the Democratic leader of the Senate for these years. And my first desire today is to honor and thank those senators who are experiencing their last session. Senator Sherry John, Senator Andy Kerr, Senator Irene Aguilar, Senator and President Grantham, Senator Lundberg, and Senator Lambert. The graduating class of 2018 has made significant contributions to this state of Colorado and served their constituents very well. Please join me in applauding their service. We all know that those of us entering our last session are not yet finished with our work, so each of us joins all of you in making this session of the 71st General Assembly one of the most historic, progressive ones for the people of Colorado. Today I'm honored to introduce a few special guests as well. My partner of 22 years or more doesn't want to be introduced, and so I'm not going to introduce her. But those of you who know me and my personality and my strange behaviors will probably agree that you should stand and give her a major applause for standing with me. Someone to put up with me all those years. Each year, as you know, our 35 Senate districts have a student to serve as a member of the Colorado Youth Advisory Council, or COYAC. Each of you have a student that represents you. These students play a very vital role in advancing the values of civic engagement in our next generation of leaders. And I'm honored to introduce to you an exceptional young woman chosen to represent Senate District 34, my district in Northwest Denver. Her name is Winta Goynye. Winta's family came to our country as refugees from Eritrea, a journey that began in a refugee camp at the age of 2 for her has brought her to this moment and her new home in Denver. She was born in the refugee camp, and her family spent years and years there before they were moved to Houston and then now to Denver. She's an outstanding 10th grader at North High School. Both her parents are hardworking here in Denver and proud people who hope to become full citizens of the United States of America. Would you please join me in honoring her today? Winta. And I'd like to also welcome and ask you to welcome our friends from the Bureau of Land Management and the Great Escape Mustang Sanctuary. From the BLM and the Great Mustang Sanctuary, I have personally been inspired by the work that they are doing together. Through the efforts of dedicated professionals and volunteers alike, they've made great progress in balancing protecting the wild horse population and the management of our cherished public lands. This is not an easy job, as those of you in some of the rural areas know where the wild horses are living and living out their lives today. This cooperative spirit by the BLM and the people of Colorado who are concerned about the horses. This cooperative spirit in service of preserving Colorado's unique natural beauty and ecosystems is a wonderful example of what makes Colorado great. I'd like to introduce from the BLM, Jason Beringen and John Beck, and from the Great Escape Mustang Sanctuary outside of Byers, Colorado, are Michelle Sander, the executive director, and Stephanie Lindsay, who's the lead trainer and beginning to train me in terms of how to ride a Mustang, as well as Michelle's two children, Carson and Preston. They are here, and they have begun to be members of a 4-H club, a unique opportunity in 4-H now for these kids to take a colt, small horse, young horse from the wild horse and train them, take care of them, and prepare them for adoption. And there's also 3 members of the board of directors from the Great Escape Mustang Sanctuary. Would you please rise and let us thank you for being here today, the BLM and the sanctuary members. Thank you very much. A good Republican president, Theodore Roosevelt, once said, "What makes a hero is the romantic notion that they stand above the tawdry give and take of everyday politics, and where division gives way to unity, and where the nation regains its lost innocence and the people share a same purpose." I believe, as elected officials, that we also must strive to live up to these ideals that President Roosevelt described. I believe that elected officials must strive to live up to these ideals each and every day. Last year's legislative session has been called one of the greatest in a decade. And why? Because thanks to our collective outreach and work, that we were able to bridge divisions and pass some unique bills that have been helpful to the state of Colorado. The great Senator Kagan and the great Senator Neville came together and passed a major bill that protects our people. Senator Sonnenberg and myself and others of you came together to pass the historic hospital provider fee. There are others of you who joined together with colleagues across the aisle. When we allow divisions to give way to unity, we pass major bills that improve the lives of people we are bound to serve. This spirit of collaboration and unity shows us a better way forward, a way to cross the bridges that divide rural and urban and rich and poor, a way to truly commit to our shared purpose of guaranteeing that a good life is available to all Coloradans, and we must commit to that vision now more than ever. Over the past several decades, Colorado families have been hit hard by a brutal economic reality. That the fact that everything keeps getting more expensive, but people are still barely able to make their money keep up. Rent and housing and child care and health care, the cost of living marches to new heights every year, but paychecks remain the same. Hundreds of thousands of Coloradans work full-time jobs that pay less than what it takes to keep a family out of poverty. Despite having one of the strongest economies in the country, Colorado spends roughly $2,000 less per K-12 student than the national average, lagging behind 37 other states. The obscene cost of health care continues to drive families into debilitating debt when a loved one gets sick or injured, even if they have insurance. These are just a small example of the challenges we face together. The question remains whether or not we can summon the collective courage to put partisanship aside and advance an agenda that improves the lives of the working families here in Colorado. We've seen far too many bipartisan bills in the past die along party lines in our committees. It seems that if the Democrats are in control, the Republican bills die in the Democratic committee. If the Republicans are in control, it seems that the Democratic or even bipartisan bills die in the Republican Senate committees. A bipartisan affordable housing bill offering relief from high housing costs in urban and rural areas in Colorado last year died. It was a bipartisan bill. A badly needed transportation bill, which saw collaboration from both parties for months and months before the session began, died in committee on a partisan vote. Effort after effort to finally expand high-speed broadband internet to our rural and mountain communities was blocked again. Today, I invite us to look past conventional partisan labels, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, and work to advance a policy agenda that truly serves the working class. Let's work together to make health care available to all. Let's create a public option that gives every resident in our state of Colorado the choice to get affordable health care through Health First Colorado. Let's legally brand pharmaceutical price gouging for what it is, a deceptive trade practice, and create real consequences for companies that maximize their profits at the expense of access to life-saving drugs. Let's continue our bipartisan work to confront opioid crises by expanding access to treatment and addiction counseling, stopping the overprescription of dangerously addictive drugs and medications, and fight to keep the cost of behavioral health services as low as possible. Let's work together to join every other nation on earth providing paid leave for the people of Colorado. Let's stop forcing parents to choose between being present for some of the most precious moments in their children's lives and putting food on the table. Let's stop forcing workers from going to work with the flu because they have no other option. As state employees, you and I, as elected officials, we have an opportunity to earn paid time off. How can we continue to deny the people of Colorado the same opportunity? Let's work together to ensure the long-term health of para. We heard the president speak to this as well. Our state retirement program that currently serves 500,000 Coloradans, let's make sure that we create a long-term, automatically adjusting solution that keeps pace with cost of living and provides peace of mind to our retirees. Let's make sure that every Colorado area has access to high-speed broadband, internet, an absolute necessity for modern life and business. Far too many rural and mountain communities across Colorado remain isolated. Doctors and nurses and physician assistants cannot serve people who live far from their offices through telemedicine without high-speed internet. Ranchers and farmers and exciting startup programs throughout rural Colorado remain at a disadvantage. This year, there is a bipartisan bill to usher in a major expansion of broadband and internet services. Two of my favorite but not best-looking Republican senators are co-priming this bill in the Senate. Let's join these good senators, but not the best-looking senators. And let's also join Senator Donovan in Senate District 5 and all of those others who have worked so long and hard to get this broadband opportunity for the rest of the state. Our colleagues are ready. Our senators have been working on it for years. I've worked on it. We've all worked on it. We're ready. I'm speaking now to all of those businesses. All of those businesses. Get this done. Make it happen. And get with the program. Get with the program. And help these senators and House members pass this bill. So on these and so many other issues, we have an opportunity to create a Colorado where building blocks of good life are available to everyone, not just a few. We've seen what happens when we set up Coloradans to succeed. We see it in the entrepreneurial spirit that drives our state businesses, in Colorado's craft beer industry, in specialized outdoor companies like Osprey in Cortez, Colorado, or Melanzana in Leadville. We see it in women like April Archer, a true entrepreneur who's with us here today. She owns Sarabella Fishing, a company launched in 2014 out of frustration with the lack of fishing equipment tailored to women, to our hands. Today, April's company produces fishing rods with a variety of weights and grips so that women across the country can enjoy one of her favorite pastimes with their families, just as she does with hers. And let me show you one of her outstanding rods. You notice they're in nice colors, but this is one of her rods. And if you all do what I tell you to do this year, you might get this rod for your wife. April Archer is here today. Everything is handmade. She has a very small business, and they are producing these. They're in several fishing outlet stores in Colorado, or you can buy them from her as well. She is with us today, a true businesswoman. I'd like her to stand, and let's give her a good hand. April Archer. Thank you. And finally, I cannot in good conscience let today pass without speaking to this unique moment in our political history. In order to be genuine advocates for the working class, we must be honest about the root causes of one of the most urgent problems plaguing our society, the ever-widening gulf between the ultra-wealthy and the rest of us. The truth is that the economic struggles of the middle class and the working class are not the inevitable outcome of economic forces beyond our control. They are a direct result of a broken system where money buys access and influence for powerful interests at the expense of everybody else. A political system corrupted by money is at the core of almost every major issue we face. Elected officials who fail to acknowledge this reality are part of the problem. If we want to solve it, we can start by giving a stronger voice back to the people that we serve. While we cannot control what happens at the federal level, we can continue to protect state-level politics here in Colorado from the same fate. Anti-corruption reform will be at the heart of our agenda in 2018 because we must do everything in our power to build a political system that truly works for the people. this legislative session, we are introducing a bill that will cap the flow of unlimited money into county and school board elections. And we will fight to require transparency from the moneyed interests pouring millions of dollars into our elections. To borrow one more of Theodore Roosevelt's quotes, I quote, "If we condone political theft, our civilization itself cannot endure." We will never stop fighting to protect our political system from corruption. A government that truly represents the people, the foundation of a free society, cannot exist any other way. I want to begin closing here. I say begin closing. See what time it is? By recognizing and telling you about the vision of a political hero of mine that sits here in this Senate. He is a hero of mine, and day by day he's becoming the hero of his own constituents. He is following through on the challenge of rebuilding a dying community, one of many across Colorado whose community is changed because of the end of a long-time business investment. Through his hope and his hard work, building community and relationships across the aisle, the good senator from Montrose, Senator Coram, is guiding one of his communities towards a business shift. He has dared to move the promise of hemp production and has plans for developing the business, which includes which will include bringing more jobs, training, and a new life to an area long lost. Hemp, a new agricultural product in places where old ways have gone by. The vision of this political leader, the hope of a community, the promise of jobs for his district. For that, I have taken a very personal move towards establishing the first ever Hemp Award. And this award goes to the great senator from Montrose, who's a true hero and has dared greatly, and I have an award for the senator. This is called Hemp's. It's a lotion enriched with 100% pure natural hemp seed oil. This is the award that goes to the senator. I'll give it to the majority leader, and he will give it to this senator. I think it's a fun thing, but I've been to his community. I saw what he's been doing down there, and it's a great idea for the rest of us to do these kinds of things in our district. Let me close by telling you a story about when I was a kid, the story of the Chinaberry tree. When we were kids, we really didn't have any toys to play with. But what we did have was the out of doors. And the tree outside of our house was a Chinaberry tree. And we would climb that tree. That was our biggest toy, if you will. Now, each of us, of course, you know about maybe you don't know about Chinaberry trees. They have these hard, small, round, green berries. But we would each climb that tree, and we would take a limb that we wanted. We would take our pocket knife, and we would etch our name on the limb that we wanted, therefore securing our own property right, if you will. We would take some parts of the Chinaberry tree, some of the twigs that were left and lying on the ground, and we would build ourselves slingshots. And we would take some rubber from the old inner tubes that we had, and we would make that slingshot. And while we would climb up on that tree and be up on our limb, we would shoot at my daddy's chickens. And some of the chickens we'd hit, and some of those chickens didn't survive. And we had to let our daddy believe that for some odd reason, some of his chickens had heart problems and that they died of a heart attack right on the spot. We loved to climb that tree. My brother climbed almost to the top of the tree, as high as he could go without losing his balance. But I chose to climb closer to the ground, closer to the trunk. It was a stronger limb, and I could sit there comfortably for a long time. My brother tried his best to urge me to go up to the very top. He tried to get me up there, and I was afraid to go up there because it was real spindly at the top. He would coax me and he'd say, "Hey, come on up, I can see Charles Black's new pickup truck in his backyard. You should see what he's got in the back of the truck." Or he'd say, "Come on up, and you can see the train coming down the track. It's way far away, you can see it." He'd also tried to tell me all kinds of other things, but he was trying to entice me to go up. His limb was high enough so he could see above the leaves. No doubt he had a clearer view of things than I did. To this day, I don't know if he was really seeing what he said he saw, or was he making it up so he could just get me up there to see me fall when the limb broke. Sometimes we climb it at night in the dark. That was really cool. And that's when he would say, "I can see the stars from up here." And I love stars. As a little kid, I've always loved stars, and I really was wanting to go up there. "I can see the Milky Way," he said. "Come on up, Lucy." They called me Lucy. "Come on up, Lucy, I can see the Milky Way." I wanted to go up, but I didn't do it. I wanted so much to believe him, but I was afraid to do it. I wanted the experience of what I could not see. I wanted to believe in the unknown, in a sense. So one day, I was home by myself, and when no one else was around, I climbed that tree. I climbed to my limb, and then I climbed on up and up as far as I could go. I secured myself on my brother's spindly limb. I looked around above the tree leaves, and I did not see the train coming down the track, nor could I see in the backyard of Charles Black's yard, but I could see far more than when I sat on my own limb. I could see farther than ever before, and yet I did not fall off. As electeds, we are dared to heed the call to risk the unknown for the promise of greatness, not for the greatness of ourselves, but for the greatness of our state, the greatness of a people, the greatness of our society. Those of us who have this one last session have one last chance to accomplish something else for Colorado. To those of you staying and for those of us preparing to leave, whether or not we accomplish all our goals or just some of our goals, we must continue to set the stage for daring to be the best that we can, for going up as high as we can, moving farther up each year. There will be the urge to consider the unknown, always calling us to go places we've not been before. My advice, climb up there so that you can know that you did the best you could to fulfill the promises made to those who elected you, so that you can build and continue to build an even better Colorado for all the days to come. Thank you, Mr. President.
And thank you, Leader Guzman. Senate will come back to order. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the remarks of the President and the Minority Leader be spread upon the pages of the Journal.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Introduction of memorials. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of the Senate Joint Memorial 1.
Senate Joint Memorial 1 by Senators Jones and Baumgartner and Representatives Singer and Thurlow concerning the need for Congress to fund catastrophic wildfire response costs outside the Federal Forest Management Agency's normal budgets.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Joint Memorial 1 lay over till Tuesday, January 16th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Joint Memorial 1 to Tuesday, January 16th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that will lay over to Tuesday, January 16th. Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 1 by Senators Baumgartner and Cook and Representatives Buck and Carver concerning transportation infrastructure funding and in connection therewith requiring the Transportation Commission to submit a ballot question to the voters of the state of the November 2018 general election, which, if approved, would authorize the state with no increase in any taxes to issue additional transportation revenue anticipation notes for the purpose of addressing critical priority transportation needs in the state by funding transportation projects would exclude no proceeds and investment earnings or no proceeds from state fiscal year spending limits, would repeal an existing requirement that the state treasurer execute lease purchase agreements for the purpose of funding transportation projects, and would require 10% of state sales and use tax net revenue to be credited to the state highway fund for the purpose of repaying any notes issued in funding transportation projects.
And that's just the first bill, Andrew. We've got 119 more days to go on this, you know. Transportation.
Senate Bill 2 by Senators Corman Sonnenberg and Representative Becker Kane Durang concerning the financing of broadband development.
Business, labor, and technology.
Senate Bill 3 by Senator Scott concerning the Colorado Energy Office.
Ag, natural resources, and energy.
Senate Bill 4 by Senator Kerr concerning increasing the funding for preschool through 12th grade public education in connection with increasing the funding for full-day kindergarten, requiring the Secretary of State to submit a ballot question to authorize the state to retain and spend for preschool through 12th grade public education any state revenues above the excess state revenues cap approved by the voters in 2005.
State, Veterans, and Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 5 by Senator Donovan and Representative Roberts concerning economic assistance for rural communities experiencing certain significant economic events that lead to substantial job loss in those communities, and in connection therewith authorizing the Department of Local Affairs to coordinate non-monetary assistance and award grant money assist rural communities with job creation or retention.
State, Veterans, and Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Zenzinger and Representative Winter concerning the ability of the counties to increase the fee they charge for the recording of real estate documents for the purpose of financing the statewide attainable housing investment fund.
State, Veterans, Military Affairs.
Senate Bill 7 by Senators Tate and Guzman and Representatives Duran and Becker J. concerning the Colorado Affordable Housing Tax Credit in connection therewith renaming the low-income housing tax credit the Colorado Affordable Housing Tax Credit and extending the period during which the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority may allocate affordable housing tax credits.
Finance.
Senate Bill 8 by Senator Merrifield concerning the measures to reward public education entities that provide student access to arts education programs.
Education.
Senate Bill 9 by Senators Finberg and Priola concerning the right of consumers of electricity to interconnect electricity storage systems for use on their property.
Ag, natural resources, and energy.
Senate Bill 10 by Senators Martinez-Humanic and Williams and Representative Exum concerning the requirement that a residential landlord provide a tenant with specified documents relevant to the landlord-tenant relationship and in connection therewith specifying rent receipts and copies of any written lease agreement as documents that must be provided.
Local government.
Senate Bill 11 by Senators Holbert and Kern, Representative Kraft, Tharp, and Lundin, concerning treatment of students who are excused by their parents from participating in state assessments.
Education.
Senate Bill 12 by Senator Hill and Representative Pedersen, concerning including military enlistment as part of the post-secondary and workforce readiness performance indicator for public schools.
Education.
Senate Bill 13 by Senators Fields and Gardner and Representatives Michelson and Janae, concerning expanding the grades eligible for the Child Nutrition School Lunch Protection Program.
Education.
Senate Bill 14 by Senators Cook and Fields and Representative Wist and Harrod, concerning requiring the Department of Corrections to disclose the location of inmates who are relocated to facilities outside of the state.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 15 by Senators Gardner and Hill and Representatives Williams and Liston, concerning the Protecting Homeowners and Deployed Military Personnel Act.
Judiciary. Announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I think I will try to begin and end announcements. We will have several. The first announcement I'd like to share with you, I think most of us are aware of the Nursing Compact Bill. That bill will be assigned or has been assigned to Senate Finance. That will be heard tomorrow after we're on the floor. So we're scheduled to come to the floor at 9 a.m. We have very little business, prayer, pledge, roll call. We will recess so that Senate Finance can go and meet on the Nursing Compact Bill. The State of the State address is scheduled to start or will start at 11 a.m. And my hope is that the committee hearing could be concluded so that members could leave finance and go to the State of the State address. I've asked opponents, I don't know if there are any opponents to that bill, but if there are opponents, to be concise in their opposition, and proponents to realize that I think that the bill will be introduced or has been introduced with sufficient sponsorship to pass it now. I think most of us have agreed that having 90,000 nurses here banging on our doors and saying that we did something wrong is probably not in any of our best interests. So it is my hope, it may not prove true, but it's my hope that that bill can pass Senate Finance tomorrow before the State of the State, and we can all go there. We would then have to read the committee report over the desk before it can go to appropriations, so I anticipate that that would be after the State of the State. So you don't need to be here when that committee report is read over. You're welcome to be here, but we would come back from the State of the State, reconvene, read the committee report over, and then Senate Appropriations will then meet to hear that bill. Then we will come back to the floor, read that committee report over, and we will conduct second reading on that bill tomorrow afternoon. So I'm sorry if you have any appointments. I think we will have sufficient support here in the chamber, but I just want everyone to be aware. I don't think this is a late night. We won't, to the caucus chairs, we won't be ordering dinner or anything, but the idea, the plan would be to have it come out of appropriations, back to the floor, read the committee report over, conduct any second reading, and then we would do third reading on Friday. Mr. President, I will step aside so that committee chairs might make appropriate announcements for the meeting of their committees outside of our normal meeting schedule.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Chairman of Appropriations, I believe I should inform the Appropriations Committee members that we will be meeting on that bill, assuming it makes it out of the first committee. And true to the fact that last session we averaged about 90 seconds per bill, I should expect that we'll be similar. So for the rest of you, if you're waiting on appropriations, you won't have to wait long.
Oh, okay. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. So you already heard about Senate Bill 27. Those that are in finance will be meeting on adjournment, and that will be in committee room 357.
Thank you, Senator Neville. You took the words out of my mouth. It will be Senate Bill 27. Senator Hill.
Thanks, Mr. President. Colleagues, something you might be looking forward to more than coming back to the floor for second reading is the Restaurant Association a party tonight, 6 o'clock at History Colorado. Come and enjoy some of the very best food and company and friendship Colorado has to offer at the Restaurant Association meeting or dinner tonight, 6 o'clock at History Colorado.
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, again, it's that favorite time of year that many of us look forward to, National Western Stock Show. We are going to start collecting money for the National Western Livestock Auction, so please see myself, Senator Sonberg. I don't know if Senator Donovan's going to be involved this year, if she'd like to collect or not, or someone from, so please see us if you'd like to donate.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Oil and gas, we all know how important it is to our state, to our economy, through the jobs and taxes they pay, and not to mention the heating and the lighting for this beautiful building. Well, COGA is having their annual legislative breakfast tomorrow morning at 7:30 outside the old Supreme Court chambers, and everyone's welcome. Thank you.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. In your calendars today, you'll see that the Joint Budget Committee is meeting at 2, but since we didn't have the calendars yesterday or the day before, just bring that to your attention. We will be considering our lists of potential legislation coming up for JBC bills, as well as supplemental requests from the Department of Agriculture and Treasury. Also, for your reading pleasure, there are a couple of things on your desk that you probably should have found. The appropriations report, this is for our current fiscal year. You can see it's the blue motif here, but this is basically from the long bill and other appropriations that were made by individual bills. This is sort of the wrap-up that's done about August, so it's been done for a little while, but you'll all have that historical document to read at your pleasure. Also, this year, we're going to be using a different color motif, the green documents for fiscal year 18-19. Now, this is the one when we go to the cycle of all the joint committees with the JBC, you'll all want to bring this document there. So if you have the committees of reference that you're assigned to, if you have particular departments that you want to read ahead, see what is in the basically, this is the governor's requests, OSPB request for each department. I think you're familiar with it from last year, but that is available for you to read ahead and formulate any questions you might have. So 2 o'clock this afternoon for the JBC. Thank you.
Senator Newell. Senator Newell? No. Majority Leader Holbrook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, our friends down in Legislative Legal Services have asked me to read through a memo here and remind you of some important deadlines. We have a Friday bill deadline, introduction deadline. Your finalized bills will be delivered to the front desk for introduction unless you ask Legal Services to deliver the bill to you instead. If you wish to have a bill delivered directly to you instead of the front desk, you must have that bill completely finalized with your Legal Services drafter by 5 p.m. Thursday, January 11th, tomorrow. If your bill is delivered to you, don't forget to turn it into the front desk no later than 4:30 p.m. Friday afternoon. So if you have one of these bills in your hand, you'll want to deliver it to the front desk no later than 4:30 p.m. Friday afternoon. Secondly, once a bill is delivered to the front desk or to you for introduction, it should not be returned to Legal Services for changes. Please make those changes by amendment after it is introduced. Last, please don't return bills that are delivered for introduction to Legal Services to add co-sponsors. Sponsors can be added by the Senate front desk or enrolling room staff before your bill is sent to the printer. If you have questions about adding co-sponsors after your bill is delivered to you, please contact the Senate front desk staff. Legal Services staff thanks you for your help and cooperation. Finally, you should have had a letter on your desks and hopefully an email a week or so ago about resolutions. Leader Becker in the House and I spent time during the interim discussing this. If you have any questions, please feel free to come visit with me. I'm happy to talk through this, but one of the significant changes, if you are a sponsor here in the Senate of a House joint resolution, that will not be heard on the same day that it is heard in the House. It will not be heard here in the Senate on the same day that it's heard in the House. If you have guests who are introduced in the House on that morning and they're applauding and introducing there and the reading resolution and voting on it, when that resolution comes over, we will lay that resolution, the joint resolution, over to the next business day, or at least the next business day. At that point, we will do debate and voting, commenting among the members and vote. If you have guests and you wish to introduce them that day, that'll be upon announcements at the end of our proceeding here on the floor. But what we're hoping is that we can reduce the amount of time that guests who sit in one chamber and then move to the second chamber sort of hear the same speeches and are reintroduced twice. So if you have any questions or concerns about specific resolutions that you might run and how that would work, please come and talk with me. I'm happy to work through that. Senator Sonderberg, I believe, had one situation. We've already worked through that, I hope. And we don't want to cause any embarrassment or disrespect to members, but we just hope to not have that formal process of reading this resolution twice in the same day, having long debate and voting. And then finally on that point, if you have the interest, the desire to recognize someone, to commemorate something in your district or in the state of Colorado, an organization, an event, please start that process by visiting with the president, his staff, and consider whether a tribute would be the proper, sufficient tool to use to get that done. The president has been very gracious in signing those tributes and having them drafted. We don't vote on those. You can say pretty much anything you want to as long as he agrees to sign it. And we have had occasions where resolutions that are rather strictly regulated in our rules that we've probably wandered beyond that on occasion. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to come and talk with me. I am very willing to work through that and make that experience not only positive for you, but any guests that you might have in the chamber. Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand in recess, and I should have said we may have some more bills to read over, but no more business today. I move that the Senate stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. today.
Is there any objection to the motion? Seeing none, the Senate will stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. today.